here today with Eryk Anders. This is Kicking Ass Taking Names podcast, and I'm really excited for this one. If you guys know me, you know I'm a huge fan of UFC. I'm absolute nerd for this stuff. And so, Eryk, thank you so much for being here today.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah. So how do I start this off, man? I mean, you were recently on Joe Rogan's podcast. You also just defeated Kyle Dawkins. What was that? Third round, or third round, by the way, or second round finish. You fought big names such as Leota, Machida, Khalil, Roundtree. What's his name? Andre Muniz. Dude, these guys are scary, and you like, I don't even know, man. I'm so pumped right now. So dude, tell me, how did you, let's start at the beginning. Okay, so MMA, UFC, but you started off in football. Tell me, how you started the transition, because I know you started as a football player and you guys went to, 2009, you won Alabama, you guys won the national championship. And what position did you play? Okay. And so how, tell me about the experience with how you started in football, and then let's transition into the MMA arena.
Yeah, so, man, just like everybody else who plays college ball, I thought that I would play football forever, until I didn't want to play no more. But that just wasn't the case. I got on with the Browns, got cut, went to Canada, got cut, and played a year of arena ball and just decided if it ain't the NFL, then I don't want to play. So I came back to Alabama, just, working just felt really unfulfilled. So I just had a lot of pent-up energy and needed somewhere to put it. So I started with jiu-jitsu. I started training jiu-jitsu and rolling around, and I saw some guys sparring, and I was like, hey, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, guys, can I play? Kind of thing. And the coach the first day was like, yo, can you fight? You can't ask any 24-year-old dude, like, can they? Of course I can fight. I fought plenty of times. That's what I thought until I fought somebody who knew how to fight. And I sparred one time, got beat up. Not like maliciously, but like, yeah, I got beat up. And but then I was hooked. So like, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And fought maybe a month later. I actually fought twice in one night. A boxing match and an MMA fight. Totally unsanctioned, whatever, in a bar. They set up a boxing ring in the Smoky Bar. And yeah, I lost the boxing match, and then the MMA fight, I knocked the dude out in like 50 seconds or something like that, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So your first one, you've already experienced a loss and a win within your first night ever. That's wild. So you started in the UFC back in 2016, right? And so how did you get involved with like UFC? You don't. I imagine you don't just walk in and just go to the UFC.
Nah, well, I fought a bunch as an amateur. I think I had like 24 amateur fights. Mm-hmm. Then I think after like my fifth pro fight, yeah. Nah, I don't know, like my sixth or seventh pro fight, I fought for LFA. They came to San Antonio. TKO'd the dude in like, 2 or 3 minutes, and then fought for the LFA belt against Brendan Allen, who also won the belt and is in the UFC and doing well. Beat him. Then like 30 days later, I think it was like 28 or 29 days later, I got a short notice call to fight in the UFC against Rafael Natal, and
you won that one too.
Right. Yeah, knocked him out in like 2.5 minutes or something like that.
So I noticed on your record, right, you went 11-1, and then you fought Leota Machida.
I fought Leota Machida. I was 10-0.
Or 10-0, sorry. Yeah, that was the one loss.
It was, yeah. That was my first loss. And, that kind of stung a little bit because I feel like I won.
That's a controversial.
I dropped him. He was for sure more active, but like, I don't know, I feel like if you get dropped in a round, it should be like boxing. Like, you got dropped, especially if you're not doing damage, because some dudes are tough and just won't, fall, you know what I mean? But if you're just, touching and slapping, and I'm, laying you down, and I think that's my round.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If I was, I would feel the same way. I think if I, got laid down, but, touched the person more. So
Yeah.
it is what it is,
That was a crazy. So, I mean, first off, like, I know a lot of people won't experience this, but you fought, man, the way that you fought, like, and the amount of damage that you've been able to sustain and continue, man. Like, I'm telling you, dude, that must be, I don't know if that's like a football thing or just like a tough guy thing. Dude, I've never seen like maybe 25% of fighters, man, have had the damage that I've seen you taken.
Unfortunately, I've proved that, it's not really a good thing. I don't think. It's like, oh, he's tough. He can take a beating. But I give it too, So
Yeah. You've had some knockouts, and the guys that you've gone against have not been like regular Joe Schmo guys, man.
And
Like,
shit gets hectic in there sometimes,
so yeah, like Leota, Machida, when you fought Khalil Roundtree, dude, like I was looking at it like, how is this guy sustaining these kicks? Like,
I mean, I don't know. The shit's just different live, you know what I mean? And every chemical that your brain and body could possibly produce is being produced in there. So of course, if like he just walked up and out of the blue, just booted my shit, it would hurt. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But sometimes, like not sometimes, but every time, you get in there and fight. There's like a fight or flight response. So
Right.
of course, like your senses are heightened, but like your pain is dulled. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, maybe I'm just a special kind of dumbass that I can take that. So I don't know, whatever, but it's not really something that I want to rely on. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I mean, here's a question that I've been really wanting to ask, because I plan on also fighting, and I hear the stories. Cowboy Cerrone used to throw up before every fight and vomit in a trash can. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that. I heard that like GSP couldn't sleep the night before his fights. Do you ever get a certain way, or does it depend on the opponent?
Dude, I don't know. I've been all over the place with emotions. Every fight is different for me. I don't think I've had the same experience. Too often. But like sometimes I wouldn't say like nervous, but like all right, dude, you don't really know what's finna happen. But excuse me. Other times it's like, yo, like this last fight, I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
I slept. I never sleep. Like the day of the fight, I slept the whole afternoon. Got up, got my workout in, slept again, and just I didn't feel anything. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's like I'm not thinking, I'm not reacting. I see everything before it happens. Like I didn't have any nerves. I didn't have any apprehension. There wasn't anything. Like I felt like I feel right now, and it was probably one of my best performances.
Yeah.
Other times I've been like, I don't know. It's like they bring you there 2 hours before before your scheduled fight time or whatever. Man, sometimes that 2 hours has felt like 24 hours. Sometimes it's felt like 20 minutes. I know sometimes they've been like, yo, you got an hour and a half. And then the very next time they come in there and they can like remind you periodically. And it wasn't like 5 minutes later, it's like, all right, you're up. And I'm like, dude, what happened to that whole, 2 hours, nothing. And, yeah, dude, I don't know how to like, make it consistent, but it's not. And I don't know what the issue is, what the deal is. But, on the nights that I feel like that I did this last fight is when I do my best work, Other nights it's like, all right, dude, let's, let it ride, let's go.
Do you think that the crowd then plays in a factor of that? I mean, how do you feel about the crowd?
Kind of, but not really until like something happens in the fight, because it doesn't matter what side the crowd is on, like what country you're in or whatever. If you crack somebody and like rock them, they're gonna get excited. You know what I mean? And then afterwards, if like you're like in another country or whatever, and you knock out their guy, of course they're gonna boo you. But while the action is happening, they're going to get, loud. So sometimes it's like you hit somebody or you like land a combination and you like on top of seeing that person, like, okay, I know I hurt him. Like the crowd also like amps you up a little bit, you know what I mean? So you want to go get them, you know what I mean? Like several times I dropped Machida. Of course, I'm not their guy, I fought him in Brazil.
Yeah.
But they still, you know what I'm saying, you can like hear like the noise like go up in the while you're fighting or whatever. You can't like really make out like any in particular like one voice or whatever, but you hear the roar, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's hard not to like want to jump on somebody.
So how do you feel that when you're, I mean, let me ask you this. What's your best fight to date that you think you've had?
Probably Kyle Dawkins. There was just like a whole lot of, I don't know, the motivation was a little different for that fight. There was a lot more on the line. It was like the last fight on my contract. I lost the fight before, so, I put a lot of pressure on myself during camp. And yeah, it worked out,
What about your hardest fight to date?
I don't know if the word hard is like the word because I probably Thiago Santos, dude. I fought him on like 6 days notice, flew to Brazil. Yeah. But it's fun, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it sucks the outcome, but it's like, dude, there's nothing you could do to feel like that. It's just like I feel alive, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, your life is just kind of like mundane and boring. Like, yeah, you train, but, on nights like that, it's like, yo, you finna go do something. Like, you get goosebumps, like talking about it and thinking about it. And like, yo, you finna go get in a fist fight. It's not a regular Saturday night, you know what I mean? Like, It just, I don't know. For me, like, I like that feeling. And it, like, especially when you win, dude, there's no better feeling than like knocking somebody out. I don't have too many submissions, but going there and fighting, and you versus one other person, you just dominated that person. On the flip side of the coin, dude, it fucking sucks, dude. It is like the worst day of your life. You go out there and lose. They've only been finished twice, so it's not like I've never been knocked out. So. It's it's like the spectrum, the opposite end of the spectrum from both sides.
I mean, how do you feel about your career to date? Like, do you see yourself going another, as many fights? You don't see an end right now, or?
I'd like to get to 20. I just re-signed another deal with the UFC, 5 fights. I'm at 15, so. They wanted to do 4, and I was like, man, how about we do 5, make it to 20, and then. We call it quits.
Yeah.
And they, scratched their back a few times, so they were cool with it.
And do you think that you'll be like one of those guys who leaves the sport and then comes back because you miss it so much, or once you're done?
Nah, dude. I think, man, it's just like the NFL for me. If it's not it's not like if it ain't the UFC, like I know like there are other promotions that like pay and whatever, and maybe I'd entertain some like boxing matches or whatever. But I think like MMA is done with. I'd probably like take off the fighter hat and put on like a coaching hat, and live vicariously. Let the young people go out there and fight.
So what if you were to get like a Logan Paul or Jake Paul boxing offer?
Yeah, dude, whatever, money talks, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, those guys, if they're doing the numbers they say they're doing, then yeah, of course.
So what we have next is the Henry Sahuto and Algerman Sterling. I mean, Henry.
I know them both.
Yeah, you know them both, and I know you were training at the same facility as Henry. By the time this comes out, the fight will already be done. So, what is your prediction?
I don't know, dude. I think there's a lot of X factors going into this one. I think Henry's like 35. Hasn't fought in a few years. But he's probably one of the best fighters we've ever seen. He's got it done. Been doing it since he was 18. At the highest level. So. But Algerman Sterling ain't no slouch, man. That guy, I think if he wins this fight, he'll have the most title defenses in bantamweight history. So,
Yeah.
that's, a nice feather in your cap there. So, obviously, he knows how to win. I think they both have the same strengths. Like, they're both wrestlers.
Yeah.
I think the X factor, I think Algerman Sterling has more submissions and is, like, more jiu-jitsu savvy, like, can finish it easier on the ground. I'm not sure how many submissions Sahuto has, but he's certainly not known for submissions. But he's knocked some people out, dude. He's knocked quite a few of them out.
Dude,
So
his fight versus Demetrius Johnson, man, those two fights, that was insane. I was hardcore rooting for Mighty Mouse.
yeah,
First fight, the second fight, and like these guys, just to see the way that they can move at that weight. Right?
yeah. The two little mice is
dude. They're wild, man.
The speed of the thing. I think that, like, I don't know. It's hard to call. Algerman Sterling is a big dude too. He's for sure gonna have height and weight on Sahuto. But I know how Sahuto trains. I know how I've seen him train. I know how he trains. I know how meticulous he is with his training. I know that he's got, I know Eddie Chaw's a fantastic coach.
Right.
I'm sure that he spared no expense for his camp. I've seen and I know what goes into Henry and how Henry prepares. I don't know that but I'm sure, Algerman Sterling does the same, but just because I've seen it and I know how he is and who he is, I'll probably go with Sahuto.
Dude, I think that, this might be a controversial thing, but dude, I think Sterling looks a little too jacked sometimes. I'm like, is that like natural? That guy looks pretty jacked.
He's got, clearly he's got, great genetics.
Yeah.
I hesitate to accuse anybody of anything unless there's been like...
Yeah, I know. I might get some blowback for that.
So, but I know that dude. He don't seem like the type that would need nor want to do that. So,
yeah, no, these guys, they put in a lot of work, and you wouldn't want to disrespect them. Stuff.
Yeah, like even like Yoel Romero, like people are like, yo. But dude, I played football with dudes like Trent Richardson. He's built the exact same way. They told him he couldn't lift weights. So I know that there are people on earth that look like that, just naturally, know. And obviously, that dude is an Olympic wrestler and all this and all that. So obviously he's got a work ethic and probably in the weight room and stuff like that. So yeah, genetic freaks. Ngannou, like these people are like, they're freaks. They're few and far between, but they exist, dude. They're here.
Speaking of Ngannou, so I saw that clip on JRE where you're talking about sparring with Ngannou. God, dude, that guy, like, did he take it easy on you at all, or was it?
Yeah, probably for sure, dude. But I want to go give him a chance to like slug me because. I don't think he's malicious. Like I don't think that he like purposely goes out and tries to
just
like,
doesn't
light
know how
people
strong
up.
he is. Like,
but even if he like touches you, dude, like there's a lot of like weight coming behind that punch, dude. Man's got some dense bones, so even like he may just be like, ugh, but to you it's gonna feel like, So
I have a funny short story. As I was one time I was at a party and we were just drinking or whatever, and we decided to start slugging it out. I went against a guy who was, no joke, he was 6'7", like huge, and like 230 pounds. And this is not to like this is not like a bragging story. This is more like I literally barely made it out alive because the guy was like, I thought we were joking, right? Like I thought we were gonna sit there and spar. He swung straight at me. And the first hit, he was so tall, he didn't know like how short I was. He went straight over my head. I go, dude, if I get hit by one of those, I'm dead. And so in a split second, I said, I have one shot to give it all I have. And I literally jumped in and I just threw my fist as hard as I could to overhand right, landed on his chest, dude. I caved his chest like right here. Yeah. And then he just goes, hey, wait, whoa. And I was like, yeah, man, no, I don't want to keep going. Like we're fine. Like, and I survived by a millisecond. if he would have decided to keep going or swing back after that, I would have been done. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was getting into, but that's like, I just think of when I think of the mentality that you have to have going in there, right, against these guys. You can't think of them as like, oh, they're some huge giant. Like, they're a person just like you. They can, you know, fall. And I think that a lot of the big names, they get a name that's so big that people, you know, do you notice that, like, where people are almost like scared of their name because they've done so well, right?
Well, yeah, they probably have that name because of, like, you know, that reputation, because of the path they took to get there. You know, they probably hurt some people, knocked a few people out, you know. So, I mean, they deserve it, you know.
Right.
Of course, if you look at, like, some dude that you're finna fight and the last 7 people that he's fought, he's knocked out, you'd be like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I mean, so that also takes me to the Andre Muniz fight. Like, when you fought him, I saw, I was like, dude, if he goes for the armbar, like, just tap. Like, because after I saw what he did to Jacare, I was
Yeah.
like, dude, that's like a career. Like, that's your money on the line, you know?
yeah.
Like, and
I wasn't gonna make that mistake. I was like, yeah, I felt it. He locked it in, and I, you know, obviously I tried to defend it, but man, the dude's an ace on the ground, you know. So
I mean, how do you, like, when you go against a guy like that and you know that that's their move, how do you still navigate around that?
well, I didn't, you know, clearly, as you see.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's really good at, like, setting it up. You know, I thought that he was trying to do something else, and by the time I realized that he had my arm, it's, you know, just like anybody who's ever lost a war or a battle, you know, it's too late. You know, it's over with.
So, I mean, what's your like pre-fight, right? So I know that when I train just in general, like, if I train a lot, I'll get to the point where now I've trained for 3 weeks consistently, 4 weeks. I get really tired. Do you stop for like a week before the last week of the fight?
I mean, you definitely taper down because, you know, at a certain point, like, all the work has been done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you definitely, like, taper down because now we're, like, trying to avoid injuries. You know, your body is a little bit weaker because you're cutting weight. You know, you're not, you know, eating as much, you know. So, yeah, you definitely taper it back a little bit. And then once you rehydrate and all that shit, you feel like $1,000,000.
So how do you? So I heard this on the GRE that you said at 205 you feel slow.
Nah, it's not that I feel slow. It's like they're bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those dudes are doing the same thing I'm doing to get to 85. They're doing to get to 205, but easier because it's like a smaller percentage of their body weight that they're cutting, so they can cut more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I was saying is when I get too big, you know, it sucks. Like, when I fought Muniz, I was like 225 when I fought him. Dude, it was like I didn't even train. Hit and miss in the back, I was like, like, huffing and puffing and shit. I was like, yo, like, fuck. So, that, you know, that's not a good mindset to go into a fight with. It's like, yo, your cardio going to be suspect. You feel heavy. You know what I mean?
But then you got guys like Adesanya who, when he went up in weight to fight, he didn't cut. I mean, he didn't put on more weight. He just stayed at, like, what? I think he fought 205. He was probably 194 when he fought.
I think he weighed in like 203 or something like that. But you saw the result. He got big boy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The same strikes that he's put people out with or at least stunned them. He didn't do shit to Jan Blachowicz. Yeah. And he was able to pick him up and drop him. Jan was. And then when he got on top, you know, he's just too heavy and too big, too strong. So, yeah, they should have weight classes and stuff, but I like fighting at middleweight better. I just don't need to be 225 the night of the fight. You know, after I just weighed in at 185, I think, like, 210 is probably, like, my optimum athletic performance. Like, my brain is functioning. I'm light. I can move. Mm-hmm. I'm athletic. My stamina is, you know, really good. But then when you start getting to like 215, you know, it's like, dang, you're too big, too heavy.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine it'd be difficult if you're cutting. Like, this is, to me, I never understood that because I wrestled and I never had to cut. I just wrestled at 119, and I stayed at 119 in high school, small. But then, I mean, you see guys like you're cutting from 220 to, you said sometimes you're 230 and you cut down. And you said one time you cut down to, you're trying to cut to 185, you got to 189. It's like one of your first fights ever.
Yeah, it was like the first time I cut to 205 or 185. I understand, like, when I first started, I didn't have the most competent people around me, you know. So now I was like, like 210, whatever. I can't remember. It was like super heavy to make 185, and everybody was just like, not everybody, but my coach at the time was like, "And you just sit in the sauna, sweat that out." And I believed him. I was like, "Yo, I know everybody sweats a shitload of weight off in the sauna." Dude, I was in there for like 6 hours. Like off and on, in for like 30 minutes, come out, fucking, breathe for a second, go back in, so yeah, it's taxing. And yeah, I got to like 189, 188 or something. I was like, yo, I'm done, dude. I'm out of here.
So, I mean, what's your plan now? Like, do you have a good process now where you feel great? Or?
Yeah, I try to keep my weight under 220, like before a fight. Obviously I'm a little bit less than that now because, the fight's, like 4 weeks away, a little over a month away. So, dialing in my weight and stuff now. So,
I mean, how do you feel about your next opponent? I'm not even too well versed with his fights, but Mark Barrialt.
He's a strong guy, powerful guy. Stamina's through the roof. Just won his last fight via TKO. So I think we have two, like, same style almost. You know what I'm saying? He likes to move forward and fight in the pocket. I like to fight in the pocket and move forward. So I think stylistically, on paper, like, it'll be a fun fight for the
just like two boulders.
For the fans to watch.
Yeah, I see. So a lot of times, what I notice is like the style that you have when you want to pressure guys against the cage. I notice. You kind of move in, and then you'll almost like. And I don't want to like reference it to football, but you almost like football, like tackle them to the side, and you're overpowering them. But then, do you work on like a lot of, is boxing your primary?
I train everything, equally because, that's all part of it. But I just like the hands the most, So, I mean, like, yeah, I can wrestle. I've taken people down. I got good takedown defense. But I don't know, dude. I like the hands,
So what was probably your most difficult moment, like fighting ever?
Shit, Roundtree dropped me like 4 times in a single round. And the commission came over there in between rounds. I think it was the end of the second round. And it was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like trying to like, not pay this person any attention. Like, they like walked around and said, "Yo, are you good?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm straight. Just let me get my thoughts back together."
Dude, that performance, yeah, dude. I mean, I've just have seen, like, when I watch them, dude, I feel like people are speechless. Like, they see what you, like, these guys and how you just keep going. And I mean, you've also dropped guys, but like your last what was it? Your last fight before Muniz. What was that one? That was your fight with what's his name? Dude, you were off of what? You went off of a couple of fights where you had a couple losses. You got a win.
I can't remember who I fought before Muniz.
Yeah, you got
all them shits blur together.
I mean, here. I want to give you. I want to ask you a question actually about this, and we can also always do like a pause too, which we might do right now really quickly, because there's like so many things I'm thinking. I just at the moment. What was I mean, what was it like with Joe? That's what I want to know.
Joe?
With Joe Rogan. What was it like sitting with Joe?
Nah, he was cool, you know, especially a person of that stature, that status, you know, sitting there talking just like you and I are. So, like, super down to earth, you know, super friendly, you know, awesome guy.
So, so like, what's your ultimate goal with like fighting? What's life after fighting?
I think right now, you know, win these last 5, you know, or as many of them as possible, make as much money as possible. Dude, I'm straight, dude. You know, got some real estate back home. Like, you know, I could probably chill, you know, but and I really, really like fighting, dude. I really like training. There's not a day goes by that I don't do something, you know. So, you know, as long as I got some youth left, then you know I want to just use it all up, and then you know maybe have my own spot, open my own gym, you know, train other fighters, other people.
So here's a good idea. What about acting? I know you were on Cobra Kai.
Yeah, but like yeah, that'd be dope, you know, for sure. Like, of course, who wouldn't want to, you know, do that or live that lifestyle or make a bunch of money? You know, I think that's like the coolest thing ever, dude. You could like when I did Cobra Kai, I played a Mexican boxer. You know, I'm not a Mexican boxer. You know, you see dudes like Johnny Depp, you know, playing like the Mad Hatter, then you know Jack Sparrow, then like you know. One day I can be this person, and like another day I could be that person, and I think that'd be dope, you know. But I'm not saying like I'm on their level or whatever, but I just think it would be like super dope to like be able to pursue that and stuff like that. But I think a sure thing, something I have 100% control over, is how good of a gym that I can run. I also started managing fighters, so you know I have say so in how good of a manager. You know, by how much time, effort, and energy I put into, like, you know, these younger people, these younger guys and girls, to like help them achieve the same, you know, level of success that I have. You know, so that's cool. So I have like a couple different paths and avenues to explore, and I'll probably, you know, do all those at the same time.
So you know, one thing that did pop up is I know this is kind of going back, but in the acting thing, because I see it for you. If you were to go towards doing like, I could see you in like Fast and Furious 12 or whatever, number 15.
Yeah, 37.
I could see you do that. I could see you being like the, you know, those armed gunmen at the, you know, for those like what's this called, the Enforcer, right? Like,
yeah, dude,
like
I'll do whatever, dude. You know, you know, it's fun, you know, but you know, at the same time, like, I used to think that these people, like actors, were just kind of like, you know, their life isn't complicated. It's not hard. They just, you know, say a few lines, act the move, you know, play the role, make a bunch of money. But dude, shit is hard. You know, I was in like maybe a minute and a half of Cobra Kai, one episode. Excuse me. And dude, that's 24 hours of filming. It was 2 12-hour days. Excuse me, to film that fight scene. And you know, there was a lot of like other things going on. Like they would film like the crowd with nothing else. It was just like pretend that you're watching the guys fighting in the cage, or pretend you're watching them fight Johnny Lawrence. You know, and so the crowd would have to ooh like ooh, you know, and make all these noises, but nothing was happening. You know, and so they did like a bunch of takes. And like when I fought Johnny Lawrence. William Zapkus is his real name. Dude, we rehearsed like this scene for like a week, the week before. And then it comes time, it's like, actually, you know what? We're not going to do any of that. This is how it's going to go. And dude, I must have did that scene literally 50 times. And then once you have it right, once they have everything, they move the cameras to the other side. And you have to do it all over again. Another 50 times with another actor sometimes, because those, you know, put in the stunt double. But it was also cool to, you know, I actually fought Johnny Lawrence. You know, he did all that, you know, so they could get his face doing it, and they can, like, you know, edit and crop and post and whatever, do whatever they do. And, yeah, so, dude, I was just, like, exhausted, dude. After I was like, oh, my God, I'm ready. I understand this is, like, a great opportunity, but Man, I'm tired, dog. It's time to call it a day.
So is like acting is that something you think you could pursue though, or?
I think it would be dope. Obviously, just like you in the podcast, more reps you get, the better you get, So, I probably suck right now, but like if I got like, extra roles and then maybe a speaking part here or a speaking part there, and then, kind of like fighting too, you kind of like work your way up, So
So
we'll see what happens.
So I wanted to ask you about your like mindset when you're getting in to the cage. Like, what's your mindset like?
Man, I really don't really think about anything. Like, I'm confident in my preparation. Like, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, So,
You think the best thing is to just be empty-minded and let your like muscle memory pretty much take over?
yeah. I think, like me, I used to just like train to train, but now I like drill, like, and I wouldn't say patterns, but like, okay, this guy's weak here, so how do I get there? Or whatever combination I think is gonna work on somebody, like, and just drill it over and over and over and over and over again. And then have somebody like stand in front of you. You can like play spar, like you're not taking damage, but you're still getting like a live look. You know what I mean? So you're like developing like reaction time, and when you see it happen, like in the actual fight, it's like a reaction. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So do you feel like fighting though today has evolved? Like, cause these guys are,
Dude, it's the fastest evolving sport in the game.
what's his name is 18 Raul or DeRosas.
Yeah, but dude, I also think the age of like 18-year-old kids coming in here and fighting. Yeah, I'm sure that kid's been training the same amount of time, but his body not developed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's not like C-Rod. Like he's not like a Division I wrestler or nothing like that. He's just a kid. He's the same thing. He's just a little bit older. He's a kid who's been training forever, and he's a little bit older. And so like, and he's done it a few times. That was that kid's first UFC fight. I think C-Rod came in. That's like, I don't know, maybe C-Rod's like a bad example because I also trained with that kid. And I've never seen a calmer person during a fight. Even his first fight, I think he took on short notice and choked the kid out. There's just something different about him. But, yeah, he's got the same amount of training time, except he's older and he's done it more. So I don't think there's going to be too many more of those 18-year-olds or super young kids. There are some freaks out there. That kid does have good submissions, but in the end, he just wasn't strong enough.
So I almost think that if you were to start at that young of an age, it also could be a disadvantage because you're going up against, like, I mean, even John Jones was at least 21, 22 or something when he won, but
the difference is John Jones has all the physical advantages.
Mm-hmm.
He may not have been the strongest when he first started, but he was already like a Division III or NAIA national champ. He's got the longest reach in the UFC. So if he wants to wrestle, he can. If he wants to keep you back, he can do that too. So that Raul kid, he doesn't have the physical attributes like John Jones does.
Yeah, and then on top of that though, he's like 18. I know when I was 18, I don't feel nearly as developed. Like I remember somewhere around 22, 23, you start getting more of that full-grown strength, right? And then again at 25, 28. So I mean, that'd be really difficult. So how do you feel that like the sport though in general has been evolving since you've been in it?
Man, you can't just do anything anymore. You have to be able to do everything. I think like the talent level is what's risen probably the most. You see dudes with no wrestling experience going in there and taking down wrestlers that wrestled in college. You see guys that are wrestlers, start knocking people out, So everybody is getting good at everything, regardless of their background, So, Yeah, you have these young kids, but probably not ready at 18, but by the time they're 22, 23, 24, now they're physically mature enough to keep up and hang out with the grown man.
And so, what do you think about in terms of like the so what do you think about but oh, I'm blanking right now. So my question was gonna be, so if you're, hold on one second, I got it. So what do you think? Okay, what is your advice actually for young fighters?
Take your time. I think, especially now that I started managing fighters, like I, see how like in a rush a lot of people, and I was the same way when I was coming up. Like, yeah, let's do it right now. But I don't think, and money is also like a big motivation. Like, when you first start, you're fighting for like two, three, four, five, $600.
Yeah.
Not even enough to pay rent. So then you see these other guys making like, you know,
Watermelon.
UFC minimums like 12,000, 12,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's at the end of the day, it's not really not. You got managers to pay, you got gyms to pay, you got taxes.
Mm.
Uncle Sam got his hand out, and he taking the most. But I always tell like the fighters that like I'm managing and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're broke today, you're broke tomorrow. You've been broke. What's another day? Just relax. Let's, like take our time. Let's like find the right fights. Because and then like if you look good fighting, it's not that you just win, but you're finishing fights. That's what gets you paid. So let's take our time. Find the right guys, and kind of let me manage. Their career, so to speak. So don't rush. If you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. The path you take, can be hard, excuse me, harder or easier or whatever. But if you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. So you just chill. Rome wasn't built in a day, so just chill, relax. You got time.
And so are I know you have what, two sons?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want them to be in sports, or do you want them to avoid fighting, or what do you think?
Dude, they wear their own shoes. They make their own decisions. I tell them all the time, you don't gotta do what I do. Actually, I prefer you not to, if I'm being totally honest. Football and fighting, but at the same day, how can I tell them no? You know what I mean? Like, eventually they'll be too old for me to tell them no. They're growing up. And two, they see me do it their whole life. Like my oldest kid, he's been alive longer than I've been training. And when I started training, he was in diapers, like right there on the mat.
Mm.
So of course he's gonna be interested. Of course he's been around it his whole life. He wrestles in high school now, probably because his whole life growing up, he saw I had to, like, I gotta go train, dude. It's like,
Yeah.
Sit here for a second.
See,
So he's been on the mat watching me train his entire life. And, my other kid too, So what am I going to tell him? Dad, you did it. I can't be a hypocrite.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you don't. What I think it was Mike Tyson. He said that his son, he had a son that he told him, don't follow me, don't do what I do.
I told them both, don't play football, dude. Don't do it. Not like my oldest, he started playing. He's 13 now. He probably started playing when he was 7. I'm like, dude, why? Maybe even younger, maybe 6. I was like, for what? Go. I told him to go play flag football.
Yeah.
He's a bigger kid, so I was like, dude, they're just gonna put you on the line. Like, you're gonna be blocked. That shit's gonna be boring. You can play. You can go, but he can run, dude. He's not. He's big. You know what I mean? He's not like chubby or nothing. So you can go play flag football. You can run routes, have fun, catch touchdowns. It's fun. But what does Dad know? So yeah, they're into football. My other son, he's the kicker, so that's cool. He ain't out there.
You might be a soccer player or something.
No, he's a phenomenal soccer player, dude. He really is good. He's really nice. That's why he's the kicker, because they know that he plays soccer. So
Right.
but Yeah, dude. If they want to play, they can play. But understand, like, before you do this, I'm gonna tell you all the shit that could go wrong. I'm gonna give you. I probably played football for 20 years. I'm gonna give you 20 years worth of advice.
Right.
And same with fighting, dude. I'm like, yo, this shit is brutal. You know what I'm saying? You can get fucked up. You can win the fight and still have to go to the hospital. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Like, I'll let them know the risk. I'm not going to, like, scare them away from, fighting because I don't need them. They don't need to have that in the back of their mind. But, you can just, any Saturday, every single Saturday there's fights, One motherfucker sad at the end, the other one just, feels like they won the lottery. So, I understand, like, you got to go through that shit too. That's part of it.
And you, when you go to the events, I mean, do you feel also like a personal sense of like worry for people that you're really close with when they're fighting?
They signed the contract.
Yeah.
When I go to fights and I watch, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe that I do that. You know what I mean? I'll see somebody get fucked up. I was like, yo, I cannot believe I do that.
Yeah.
And I try to do that. Like, I was there when Tony Ferguson got up kicked, and I was like, oh, my
you're
God.
talking about against Chandler.
Yeah, against Chandler. I was like, oh,
dude,
my
I feel like
God.
Gagey. I almost feel like Gagey was the first thing that like led to that happening because I feel like he cut too much weight or something at that.
I don't know what his deal is, but I was there, and I saw that, and I was like, ooh, shit, like, fuck.
But Ferguson was a phenomenal fighter, man. His run that he had was amazing. I think he was on 13, 14 fight win streak before he lost. Like, that guy was a maniac. He's a beast. I love him as a fighter. I wish him the best. I think he's also been struggling a lot with the fact that like his everything has changed so quickly. But,
yeah, I don't know. I was also there a few weeks ago when Adesanya knocked out Pereira, and I was like, "Ooh, shit!"
Yeah,
I've done that. I've never been in Pereira's shoes, but like shit, I can't believe that I do that. You know what I mean? And I've done that. And obviously, clearly, I'm not. I'm not on that level. But
do you have so do you have a favorite fighter of all time?
Favorite fighter?
Yeah.
Shit. I don't know.
Not like a GSP or something like that.
I know before I started fighting, like I started watching in college, and Frankie Edgar to me was always the man.
Yeah.
There was just something about him being like so much smaller than everybody, but he ain't never stopped, dude. That motherfucker like always fucking like bobbing. I'm like, damn, man. I hated like the way his career ended, but dude, that's almost every athlete. Almost every athlete goes out like that. You know what I mean? Like,
you stay too long, then it eventually.
Yeah, when you stay too long, But these people, athletes in general, they're not normal people, especially like the really successful ones. There's something that's driving them. That's like it's a personality trait. It's not something that you can turn off. You know what I mean? So you see it all the time, like Emmitt Smith, like played forever for the Cowboys. All right, dude, you're too old. So he goes, and kind of like taints their career a little bit, Roy Jones, if he'd have stopped, a long time ago, dude,
Couture.
He would be like regarded as like one of the greatest boxers of all time, but because he fought too long, got knocked out, whatever, took a bunch of losses in a row. Like, what have you done for me lately? You know what I mean? So, but I understand. I get it, dude. I understand completely. That's just the life of the athlete.
Yeah. I mean, it's respect to these guys, all of you guys. It's like tough. I can imagine just living on a day to day. You see what you see in football a lot is the videos of the guys on the back end story when they're not playing. And I'm sure it's the same with UFC. Is you see these guys like limping and walking, and that's just like how they live day to day until they recover. And it's just like you're dealing with all that just to like for a month or whatever, 2 weeks, just to get back to the point where you're okay. Now I can go back into training.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, that shit gets hectic in there sometimes. Like I've broken my hand in a fight. I've, broke my face in a fight. I won. And I won. And I'm the one who left with the, what I'm saying, fucked up face. My nose has been shattered. So, but it's part of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how do you see like this current division right now, like lightweight, light heavyweight?
Man, I think right now the talent in the UFC is the best that it's ever been, and next year it'll be better than it was this year.
Yeah.
And then as some of the older guys retire, and they're bringing in all these young kids from like the Contender Series and like some of these other promotions. And the quality of fight, from the low end to the championship fights, everybody's gonna want to watch because they're gonna be competitive. You know what I mean?
That's so. So anyways, what are we at right now?
Like 50 some minutes.
Okay. So we'll wrap it up with. I'll just ask you about what your advice is in general, like for. Because also the whole point of the podcast is kicking ass, taking names. Like these are people who are absolutely crushing it. Like whatever you do, you're crushing it, right? So like the whole point is to get that also out of you so that other people can see that, digest that, and understand that.
Sure.
So, I mean, what's your general advice? Like, every people who look up to you are going to watch this, are going to ask, like the grit, like professional athletics, forget just fighting, professional athlete, accomplish, you clearly have mental fortitude. Like, what's your advice to people who look up to you?
Keep pushing. Like, you're going to have setbacks. Like, shit's going to suck sometimes. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. But then once you, like, push through all the bullshit and you get to the other side, and, like, you battle through some adversity, you know what I mean? It makes it even more worth it, more satisfying. The win, whether it's, like, a fight or a business deal or launching a business or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like even like when I first started learning to fight, dude, I was awful, dude. I'd get socked in my face all the time. I get choked out all the time. But eventually, like you turn a corner, the shit starts to make sense. You start to think about things, and it also, it's like learning a new language. Like, dude, what? Obrigado? You know what I'm saying? Like trying to speak Portuguese and shit. But then after a while, like you find yourself like conversating. So everything takes time and reps. So, damn, I fucked this up. Damn, I fucked that up. It's cool, man. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and, keep it moving on to the next. Because, the next one may be, the one, So, yeah, keep pushing.
So that was Eryk Anders, UFC fighter. Erik, thank you so much.
I appreciate you for having me again.